Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this center with a feather wreath design. So I'm going to start with a center, and this is just a cap. I believe it was to a peanut butter jar. And I'm going to center this the best that I can. I don't have a plastic template that is small enough to go on to do what I want it to do, so we're going to have to substitute. And that looks pretty centered. Okay, and then I need, this one is a guideline for my feathers. This one will be for the spine of the feathers. On this one, since it's a template and clear, I can see the center. So here we go. Okay, now I need a guideline out here. And what I am going to do is use my square ruler, and I'm going to come out 4 inches from this line here. Let's see here. Here we go. This line here, all the way around, I'm going to go in 4 inches from there. That's right. And then just meet up at those diagonal press seams. And we'll be ready to draw in feathers. Okay, everything's coming out pretty square. I'm happy about that. Okay, now to draw the feathers in. And looking in the camera to see how much of this you can see. Let's see if we can. Okay. All right. The space is going to stay blank and the feathers are going to come in here. And we're going to go from the outside in. And I really want to come up to that edge, so we're going to just draw them in. Now if you have a stencil that will fit this space, that works really well. Actually, when I get to quilting these in, I will probably freehand it. Just use these kind of as a guideline, but I will still be freehanding. I think the feathers will be more consistent that way than drawing them like I am right now. But this will give me a good feel for what this will look like when it's all done. Okay, now I need to do the outside feathers, and I'm going to go all the way into the corners here. So those feathers are pretty long. There's this will go pretty fast. I feel with these formal feathers, and most with any feathers, it's that they look better if you can bring them in at an angle here to your spine. You don't want them going perpendicular. They just don't look right that way. And I do have a template of a feather wreath, but it's too small for this section, so that's why I'm freehanding this. So these feathers won't all look the same size, but if you want them consistent, you can get a stencil, or if you have a computerized machine, use a feather wreath in your program and size it to the size that you need. And you want a fresh pen when you do this, especially if you're doing a large project. Get a fresh pen, have a couple of them on hand. I have 4 right here. That way I can grab one if one runs out of ink. Okay, so my design is all drawn in, and this will be ready to go on the machine. Okay, I have the design all drawn out now, and I have loaded high loft batting, polyester batting onto my quilting machine. Now this is just 100% polyester. I think I bought, this is a scrap from something. This is the highest loft that I have. If you can find one with an even higher loft, you'll get a better Trapunto look. Any kind of 100% polyester, 100% wool works real well. You can also try a layer of an 80-20 batting on here too. The trick for me, where I get the best results, is if I use a really firm base batting. And I'll show you that later, but that would be like a soft and bright, which is what I'm going to use. Anything like that that is real dense, that's what you're going to want for your under batting. So you can see there's no fabric under here. This is just strictly batting, and I did just clamp it down with my red snappers, so it holds real well. And I'm just going to lay this on top. It just has to be big enough to cover the whole design. If you have a piece that is bigger than your project, that would probably work better, but I don't have any. I don't quilt with polyester very much, so I'm just using what I have on hand. So I am going to baste a stitch around here, and then around all the way around the design to stabilize it, and then I'm going to start quilting in here, and I'll show you the thread that I'm going to use for that. Okay, here's my thread. This is called Vanish Extra, and it's by Superior Threads, and this is a wash away thread. It is water soluble, and it comes in these little spools, and it looks like a polyester thread, but this will wash away in water. And I'm going to thread, the upper thread will be this will go through the needle, and in the bobbin I'm going to use So Fine, and this is a 50 weight thread. This color here is 402, so this is an off-white, but I'm going to use white, and this is a real fine thread, and this will wind up staying in the quilt, so you don't want to use a real heavy thread. You want a 50 or a 60 weight thread. So Fine or the Bottom Line are good choices. I don't think I would use silk. I mean, that's an expensive thread. I wouldn't want to use that for something that's just going to stay in the middle of the quilt and you're not going to see it. So use something that is very lightweight, something a 50 or a 60 weight thread, and that'll be in your bobbin. And just choose your color knowing that it is going to stay in there. So if you use a dark color and you have white fabric, it's going to show through. So with this white fabric, I want to use some white thread. I wanted to talk a little bit about the tension on your machine when you're using a water-soluble thread. what I have found with my machine is that I need to loosen the needle tension as well as the bobbin tension when I'm quilting with that thread, because the thread is very delicate and it breaks at the needle real easily. And so what I do is I loosen the auxiliary tension here. I keep this pretty loose, as well as the main tension here. I will also loosen this, and then I will loosen the bobbin tension. And I do several tests on a piece of scrap sandwich, quilt sandwich, to see if the tension is where I need it to be. And then when I'm quilting with the Trapunto thread, with the water soluble thread, I have to slow down significantly to keep that thread from breaking. And on this top, I did slow down, but I still had a lot of breakage. So that can be frustrating. So if you will put it in manual mode, you're going to have more trouble than if you put it in stitch regulated mode. So I would recommend using stitch regulated mode and slowing down, and just taking your time, and just know that you will have some breakage, but in the end it's going to be okay. You just need it quilted enough so that it will hold that batting in until you get your final quilting in. In part 3, I'll start quilting the Trapunto batting. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks for watching.